Do you want to take control of your life? Do you want to have the power to use your mind to make anything happen? Well, I have one caveat if you want this to work. You have to be okay with lying to yourself. It's called magical thinking. Do we have a deal? Hey there, beautiful souls. This is Sarah from Your Ideal Self, and I am a recovering magical thinker. So why did I start this introduction like a sales pitch? That's because magical thinking is pretty much selling yourself an idea that doesn't have logic or scientific reasoning behind it. I have been on this roller coaster of magical thinking, from the ups of believing that I had complete control of my life, no matter what I did, rubbed a crystal together, or just said a few mantras to the universe, to the lows where I realized that life just doesn't work that way. And it's been a rough ride. And that's why I'm making this video, because I want to make the ride stop for you so you don't have to endure all the negativities of magical thinking that I endured. Disclaimer, I'm not a professional or a psychologist, but I'm someone that wants to help you, and I've made my own mistakes, and I have learned from the mistakes of others and done my own research. So let's see what we're covering in this video. 1, what is magical thinking, and what are some of the magical thoughts that I employed? 2, where does magical thinking come from? And 3, my experience of letting go of magical thinking. So what exactly is magical thinking? It is when we have connections between two things that aren't actually connected. We want them to be connected, but they are not. It can follow often a simple formula. If X, then Y. For instance, you might be familiar with one of these, like, if I wear my lucky socks to my job interview, then I'm going to ace the interview. Or, perchance, if I wear my team's jersey colors when I'm watching them play the game, then that is going to increase their chances of winning that game. Wouldn't we love to actually have that control? In fact, that's why we employ these tactics. And we will get into that. As you can see though, if you think and look for some logic, there's no proof of this. It's not at all related, these two things. Now, it gets a little interesting. Magical thinking, it's not all bad. In fact, there's really a spectrum of magical thinking, from the harmless to the completely detrimental and can mess up your life. And I have employed everything under the sun, but this video is to tell you about both, but to let you know a little more about my experience on the far side of the spectrum where it was completely detrimental. But first, some innocent examples of magical thinking, like, if I wish on a star, my dream will come true. If I knock on wood, that bad thing that I talked about is not going to happen. Little superstition never hurt anyone. Or if my loved one dies, then their spirit will watch over me. It can be comforting. Nothing wrong with these, okay? It doesn't ruin anybody's life. Take 2. So as we slide down on this scale, we move from harmless to detrimental. The reason that the magical thinking I employed was detrimental is it wasn't just a one-time, like, oh, this is lucky. No, it was like about my entire life, or a huge part of my life. For instance, in love. If I love this person hard enough, then their toxic ways will go away. Okay, just think for a second. What does that do to a person? It is based on a foundation, a thought that difficulty and suffering means you will earn or reap rewards in some later time. It can also go in a superstitious kind of way, like, if I experience significant coincidences with this person, then it means that the universe wants us to be together and we should be together. So in that example, it's using the universe to justify a bad situation, presuming this is a bad situation. And I did that so much. And I'm curious here, I would like to ask you, have you had this thought where love is hard, or having the good life just has to be not just hard, like torturous, like really negative to your emotional well-being? because I believed that. Also, as a note, I didn't come up with all these ideas on my own. If your partner or someone you're dating says that you are together and it's meant to be and that you're soulmates, but say the relationship is really difficult, that is a red flag, because they are trying to use this idea that they believe in the universe, magic, to make them stay in a relationship that's not good for them. So these are the detrimental kinds of magical thinking. And you can apply this to work as well. And I also applied it to work. I would say love is the one that really tore me down, but work as well. For work, for instance, if you endure some suffering or a lot of suffering, you might think it's for a greater reason, or a huge promotion that might never come, or just things will get better if you suffer in a toxic work environment or under a toxic boss. So those are some of the tactics I used. And again, I implore you to ask yourself if you are using any of these. Now let's go back to learn about why we would use some of these tactics. But of course, it all starts in childhood, because all good and bad things start in childhood. So we're on point number 2. Where does magical thinking come from? Childhood. Of course, as children, we are often magical thinkers. Magical meaning we are causal thinkers. If X, then Y. If I leave my tooth under the pillow, then the tooth fairy will come. Or if I wear my lucky socks, then I will win the spelling bee. If you can imagine, if you're a kid and you're using this causal thinking in a healthy, normal way, the illogical fallacies of if X then Y should stop. However, what if you are a kid who is raised in an environment that is very unstable and the child just doesn't know what's gonna happen from mom or dad next? I mean, sometimes mom's crying, you can't do anything about it. Sometimes mom's happy as heck and you didn't cause it. If you're a kid and you start thinking to yourself, how can I get control? Like, what if I do this thing? Like, what if I do something a certain way that I'm going to make my mom like me? These things can continue past when you're younger into adulthood. And third, my experience with magical thinking and letting go of the magical thoughts. Straight up, it's very difficult to let go of some of these magical thoughts. And I don't suggest you strip yourself of all your magical thoughts or you will not know how to regulate yourself. I do encourage you to look at some of the thoughts you have and see if they are founded in reality. Are they? Or are they founded on crystals or the universe speaking to you, or things that we so desperately want to be true? I mean, somebody told me that they thought I was their soulmate, and so I convinced myself I was supposed to be with that person because I thought the universe had aligned us together. Look, I feel myself getting like elevated here, almost in anger at my past self, but my past self does not deserve anger. My past self deserves love, just like you deserve love. Because yes, sometimes we do things without any evidence except the desire for there to be something greater, some evidence elsewhere. That can really put us in some bad situations. So I give you kindness, and I hope that you are kind with yourself, because I was not that kind to myself. I am now. That's my experience with it. I plan to do another video on intuition versus magical thinking, because we can mix them up. This idea of intuitive ability, it can be manipulated. So I'm curious what you all think. Obviously, this is something super close to home, and I would love to help you because it's a very tough journey. But if you have support, there's a lot more hope. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more videos like this, and I wish you a wonderful, positive day.